Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, so you've given us a really interesting set of materials this time, all focused on something I think we can all relate to, which is what gets students truly engaged in school,
Right.
and particularly, it seems, in their physical education classes.
hmm Yeah, we've been looking through research articles, exploring that link between what teachers actually do and, how engaged students feel.
And what really jumps out, I think, from the main source you shared is its specific focus.
Yeah, it's less about just explaining why a student is engaged, the general reasons, and more about trying to pinpoint which specific teacher actions can actually predict a change in engagement levels.
Ah, okay. Prediction versus explanation. That's a subtle shift, but yeah, potentially really useful.
It is. It makes it more practical, maybe.
Exactly. It moves us from just sort of mapping the territory to finding the actual signposts, the things that suggest where student engagement might be headed.
Okay, so let's really unpack this, because I know our listeners are looking for those practical insights. What are the real levers, the things a teacher can actually do to make a difference?
Mhm.
Forget the big, broad theories for a second. What are the specific actions?
And that's really the goal of this deep dive for you listening. Whether you're a teacher, maybe a school administrator, a parent, or just someone interested in, well, what makes education work? Understanding these predictive behaviors, it offers something actionable.
Right. Useful information.
Yeah, and we might find some connections that aren't immediately obvious, maybe even challenge some common ideas about student motivation.
Okay, now here's where it gets really interesting for me.
Yeah.
The main study we're digging into, it was big, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. Very large scale, over 1,300 students. Year 7 students, specifically.
1324, I think.
Yeah.
That's a lot of data points. It is. And across 17 different schools, too. And they looked at this really comprehensive list of teacher behaviors, 71 different ones.
71. Just think about that. 71 specific things a teacher might do or say.
And they tracked how these things related to changes in student engagement in PE across a whole school year.
Wow.
And importantly, those 71 behaviors weren't just pulled out of thin air.
Right. They were grounded in theory.
Exactly. They were selected based on 4 sort of major ideas in educational motivation. You've got self-determination theory, achievement goal theory, growth mindset theory, and also transformational leadership theory.
So a really solid theoretical foundation for choosing what to look at.
Definitely. It makes the investigation quite thorough.
Okay, so summing up the setup. Large study, lots of students, many schools, a whole school year, 71 specific teacher actions rooted in key motivation theories, all looking at predicting changes in PE engagement.
That's a picture.
All right, let's get to the results then. What did they find? Which teacher behaviors really stood out as predicting a positive change, like increased engagement?
Okay, so yeah, a few behaviors really did emerge as consistently strong predictors. One of the big ones was the teacher being a good role model.
A role model. In PE, does that just mean being good at sports?
Well, no, not necessarily just that. It was broader. It was more about the teacher showing like genuine enthusiasm for the subject itself. Participating appropriately, having a positive attitude towards activity, basically practicing what they preach about health and engagement.
Ah, okay. That makes intuitive sense, doesn't it? That kind of enthusiasm can be infectious.
It really can. Students pick up on those cues from adults. If the teacher values it and enjoys it, students are more likely to as well.
They model it.
Exactly. It taps into some pretty fundamental learning processes, observational learning. Another really key predictor was when teachers showed a genuine interest in their students' lives outside of PE class.
So going beyond just grades or performance in that subject.
Right. It's about seeing them as, whole people, knowing a bit about their hobbies, their interests, their lives beyond the school walls.
Showing you care about them as individual.
Precisely. That personal connection seems to build a stronger sense of belonging, maybe feeling valued, and that apparently translates into being more engaged in the class.
Yeah, that feeling of being seen. I get that.
And then a third really important one was consistently allowing students to make choices.
Autonomy.
Exactly. Giving them some agency. When students feel they have some say in what they're doing, even within set boundaries, they just feel more invested.
So maybe choosing which skill to practice or which activity pathway to follow.
Yeah, things like that. It doesn't have to be huge, wide open choices,
Yeah.
but giving them some control. It seems quite powerful for motivation.
And you can see the link there directly to self-determination theory, right? Autonomy is core to that.
Absolutely. It feeds that basic psychological need for control over one's own actions and learning.
Okay, so Being a good, enthusiastic role model, showing personal interest, and providing choices. Those are the key positives. What about the other side? Were there things teachers did that predicted a decrease in engagement?
Yes, definitely. One behavior stood out pretty clearly in that direction. It was when students felt that their teacher's positive regard, their approval or warmth, was conditional.
Conditional on what?
Conditional on the student behaving perfectly, following all the rules, meeting all expectations without fail. So the students felt the teacher only liked them or approved of them when they were being good.
Ah, okay. So a sense of I only get positive attention if I'm perfectly compliant.
Exactly. And that seemed to create pressure, maybe anxiety about mistakes, and ultimately it led to lower engagement.
Wow. That's a really powerful finding. It speaks against a purely sort of transactional classroom management style.
It does. That feeling that your worth in the teacher's eyes is tied directly to your compliance. It
Hmm.
seems to really undermine intrinsic motivation.
Yeah, it replaces genuine interest with anxiety about approval. Not a great environment for learning or wanting to participate.
Definitely not. It works against building that positive, respectful relationship.
Now, you mentioned earlier that these behaviors, the positive and the negative predictors, they didn't all neatly line up with just one of those four theories they started with?
Right, and that's another really interesting takeaway. The behaviors that turned out to be most predictive seem to draw on elements from multiple theories.
Okay, like how?
Well, take being a good role model. You could link that to transformational leadership, inspiring through action, embodying values.
Sure.
But it also connects to self-determination theory. If the teacher is modeling genuine, intrinsic enjoyment of the activity
Okay, yeah. I
and
mean,
allowing choices, as we said, that's classic self-determination theory. But you could also argue it helps create a mastery-oriented climate, which is central to achievement goal theory, focusing on personal progress, not just winning.
so the effective strategies are kind of borrowing from different toolkits?
Exactly.
Hmm.
It suggests that in the real, messy world of the classroom, the best approach might be a blend, integrating ideas rather than sticking rigidly to one single theory.
That's a really practical insight for educators, isn't it? Don't feel locked into one framework. Mix and match based on what works.
It seems so. Now, we do need to talk about the overall strength of the prediction here. It's important for listeners to have the right perspective.
Okay.
The research found that these teacher behaviors, all combined, predicted around 4.39% of the variance in how student engagement changed over the year.
4.39%. Okay, on surface, that might sound, well, kind of small.
It might, and it's crucial to understand why. Student engagement is incredibly complex,
Well,
right?
definitely so many factors involved.
Exactly. You've got the student's own personality, their motivation, what's going on at home, their friends, the specific subject matter. I mean, the list goes on.
So teacher behavior is just one piece of a very large puzzle.
A very large puzzle. So for this one piece, teacher behaviors to predict even about 4% of the change over a whole year is actually, well, statistically meaningful.
Okay, so we shouldn't dismiss it just because the number isn't, say, 50%.
Absolutely not, especially in a predictive model like this. Think about it. If a teacher consistently applies these positive behaviors, that 4% effect accumulated over time across many students can lead to significant positive shifts. Small, consistent changes add up.
Right, it's identifying actions that reliably nudge things in the right direction, even if they aren't silver bullets.
Precisely. And this relates to the point you brought up earlier, prediction versus explanation,
Yeah.
and this idea of overfitting.
Yeah, explain that a bit more. What is overfitting and why does it matter here?
So sometimes in research that tries to explain everything, find all the causes you can build a statistical model that fits the specific data you collected really well.
Yeah.
Too well, almost. It's called overfitting. The model becomes so tailored to the quirks of that specific group of students or schools that it loses its ability to predict what might happen with a different group.
Ah, I see. It learns the noise in the data, not just the signal.
That's a great way to put it. It fits the current data perfectly, but doesn't generalize. The paper mentioned linear regression as an example. You can keep adding variables and make the model seem better on paper for the data you have.
But it wouldn't actually be useful for predicting outcomes for new students.
Exactly. It inflates how well it explains the past, but fails at predicting the future.
So it's like designing the perfect key for one specific lock, but it won't open any other locks.
Perfect analogy.
Yeah.
And that's why focusing on prediction is so valuable here. These models are specifically tested on their ability to generalize, often using techniques that simulate predicting for new data. Even if the percentage they predict, like the 4.39%, seems lower, those findings are usually more robust. They're more likely to hold true in other classrooms with other students.
Okay, so this predictive approach gives us more reliable insights into what actions are likely to work in practice, even if they don't explain the entire picture.
That's the idea. It helps identify those high-leverage behaviors, the ones most likely to make a positive difference, even while researchers continue to explore all the complex underlying whys.
It's practical, data-driven guidance for where teachers might focus their energy or professional development.
Exactly. Target the actions with the best predictive power for improving engagement, while the deeper explanatory work continues alongside it.
This has been super insightful. Okay, just to quickly recap for everyone listening, what were those top predictive teacher behaviors again?
Sure, the key ones predicting positive changes were being a good role model, showing enthusiasm, participating, taking a genuine interest in students' lives outside class, and consistently giving students choices.
And the key negative predictor.
That was when students felt the teacher's approval or positive regard was conditional only on perfect behavior.
Right, and the big insight from the theories was
That the most effective teaching likely involves blending approaches. The top behaviors drew from multiple theories, suggesting an integrated strategy is probably best in practice.
got it. And finally, while that 4.39% prediction rate might seem modest,
It's actually quite meaningful given the complexity of engagement and the focus on robust prediction rather than potentially overfitted explanation.
it pinpoints reliable levers for change.
Exactly. A valuable tool for identifying practical actions educators can take.
Okay, so here's the final food for thought for you, the listener. Thinking about these specific behaviors being a role model, showing personal interest, offering choices, avoiding that conditional regard, what small, concrete changes could you see being implemented, maybe in schools, or even in other parts of your life where motivation matters work, parenting, coaching? Which of these behaviors really stood out to you and why? Something to mull over. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us today.